moving on to the session where we're going to look at some of the knowledge transfer partnership projects which have taken place. So we'll have 4 presenters over the next half an hour, so bear with us on the logistics just in case it doesn't run as smoothly as we'd like.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Okay, so we're going to hand over to Greg, no, Phil, who's going to kick us off, and Jonathan Mitchener is going to kick us off. Sorry, I'm thinking of the next session. Jonathan Mitchener is going to kick us off. Jonathan has very kindly helped to sponsor today. Jonathan's from the KTN, the ESP KTN. No, TSB.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll tell them. Great. Good afternoon, everybody here, and good afternoon to those that are online as well. We often forget the people that are tuning in from elsewhere. Thank you very much to Mike for putting this together and his team. I think they've done a fantastic job, and it's great to have a variety of talks that we've had this morning. I was very interested in that last one from Tony, actually, that he mentioned a lot of places where innovation is key for the future and for the UK. And that's exactly what we're about. So I'm Jonathan Mitchener, I'm from the Technology Strategy Board. And just a quick poll, not for those online, but for the ones in the room. You should feel a bit silly at home putting your hands up. But how many people here think they know what the Technology Strategy Board does? Okay, so it's worth saying a little bit about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present a bit of context for the 4 projects that you're going to hear about very briefly after I stop talking. And I know that we're between you and lunch, as the normal joke goes. So if the guys who come up to whet your appetite about the posters that are out there, the back of the room, to go and talk to them about over lunch, if they keep their pieces fairly short, we've given them up to 5 minutes each, just to whet your appetite. If they keep it short, you won't mind that because you'll get your sandwiches and things quicker. So the Technology Strategy Board is the UK's innovation agency. We're an arm's-length agency of government. We get given some money by the government, and we try to do our very best to help business innovate in a whole raft of different areas. And if you want to know what we're doing this specific year, there are all sorts of strategy documents, but the best one that's just been released is this delivery plan. And this you can get online. I don't recommend you print it all out because there's quite a lot there in terms of tree. But you can download it online, and it covers the whole raft of stuff that we do. In every sector, in every industry, across every business. And I recommend that you have a look at that if you want to know what we're doing this year. It tells you the sort of things about roughly how much money we're going to invest in this particular area, what sort of thing we're going to do, whether it's collaborative R&D or whether it's a KTP or whatever type of thing it is. And it also tells you roughly which quarter we're going to do it in, so you get an idea ahead of time what we're planning to do this year. The strategy document, which you can also get online, tends to tell you a bit more about what we plan to do over the next 3 or 4 years. And just so you can identify it online, the red and white one is the Enabling Technology Strategy. Again, downloadable, tells you about ICT, tells you about electronic sensors, photonics, and some other enabling technologies like bioscience and advanced materials. So it's all in one document now. We used to issue them separately. Again, have a look in there. It tells you what we're doing. So what I want to do is give you a bit of context for what you're going to hear next and what the posters are about outside. So in 2011, my predecessor at the TSB, the then lead technologist for ICT, and ICT at the Technology Strategy Board means software stuff rather than the hardware. We sort of work together with the ESP guy who does the hardware bit. In fact, we work a lot closer now that I'm at the TSB because I think it's essential that the two get together. And in 2011, my predecessor thought, what should we do in the strategy about this problem of the hardware going ahead of the software? So we're well aware that the platforms that people are building stuff for and writing software for are multi-core, many core. And most software engineers are actually still writing as if it's single core. They're still writing as if it's all sequential code. They're not thinking parallel. What could we do about that? Well, we knew there was lots of good work going on, including here in Bristol and around Bristol and also in other places, particularly in academia. You know, academics have been going on about this, David said, went back into history about how much we've been doing in this for a very long time now. And so what we decided to do was to use our KTP, Knowledge Transfer Partnership tool, if you like. We have a number of different tools available to give this money that we get from government out to business to innovate. And KTP is much more long-running than the TSB. So KTP was around long before the part of DTI as it was then spun out into our agency. And we picked up KTP at that point. And in 2011, we decided that we'd use that particular mechanism for running some projects in the multi-core and parallel area. And we came up with this particular project called Parallel and Multi-Core Computing. And the whole idea of knowledge transfer partnerships is that you take a business that's got an issue or a problem or something to solve, and you connect them with an academic institution that's got the expertise, the skills, and the knowledge. And a third part of that is the associate who's from that area, who's got the skills to go and sit in the company, work with the company, at the company premises mostly, and transfer that knowledge so the company can move on. That's the whole idea. And so it's a fixed length of time that people spend in companies doing that role, transferring knowledge. That's why it's called the Knowledge Transfer Partnership. And we ran one of those. Now, they've been going on for a very long time. The difference with that particular call was that we decided to theme it on multi-core and parallel computing, because you can apply for a KTP in anything for any project at any time. It's an ongoing program that we run. And Wendy Mannix, who's out at our stand out the back, she can tell you wax lyrical for you about how to do KTP in general. But this was the first time we themed it particularly on an ICT area. The other thing we did for the first time was we said we'd have a cohort of projects. And this was very experimental. We didn't know whether it was a good idea or not, but we felt that it might be. That is to bring together those individual KTP projects, because they're doing something in common, i.e. parallel and multi-core, bring them together at different times throughout the lifetime of the project and get them to learn from each other, perhaps swap ideas, especially for the associates, so they could get to know each other and exchange learning and stuff. So it was the first one. We're now doing other cohorts with other KTP areas. But today I'm really delighted that we've got 4. I hope we've got 4. Can the 4 just put their hands up so that I can see that 1, 2, 3. Oh, great. We've got 4. I just want to make sure they're back in the room. So we've got the 4 that you see here. We've got Nathan, Simon, Anathasius, and Joseph. And the 4 of them are going to give you a really quick overview of what their particular project is about, who they're doing it for, and what they've learned about it from KTP. Because while I'm up here, the last thing I want to do is advertise another KTP, which is open at the moment. It's not about parallel and multi-core particularly, but it still may be of interest to people. So I'm always keen to tell you what opportunities there are for getting money. And it's yellow again, which tells you it's a KTP on our brochure. There's actually 2 parts to it, a green and a yellow. The green is for feasibility studies, nothing to do with KTP. There's £1 million to invest in that area. There's $500,000 in the KTP area as well. And this is all around new methodologies for multidisciplinary software development. So if you're running a software development project, and you can try out a methodology, a way, a process of using people like anthropologists, artists, psychologists early in the process to make that a better product for the user, which Tony was talking about, we think that might produce a better outcome for users. If you can do that as a pilot, then that might be an interesting call for you to look at. So advert over. I think we've got Nathan up here at the start. So if I can ask Nathan to start us off, maximum of 5 minutes, and then we can all go for lunch. But I do hope you'll listen to these guys, give them your support, and then go and talk to them over lunch about their posters. Have we got a hand mic for these guys? Yeah. Great.
Working?
Thanks.
Yeah. Hi guys, so my name's Nathan, as you can see there. I'm part of the project with Durham University and Icona Solutions in Manchester on the project Parallel Optimizations of Perceived Quality Simulations. You'll recognize the poster because it's got pretty pictures of cars on it. So what we're really doing here is we're helping figure out exactly what goes on with companies who essentially fall under the branch of the completely uninitiated in terms of parallel computing. So we wanted to work together with Icona to figure out exactly what they go through in terms of trying to introduce their software to parallel computing. So what we, and Icona is actually a very good example of this in terms of they have a quite mature piece of software. It's quite complex, but performance is proving a very big barrier for them. And they've actually tried to introduce parallel computing beforehand, but after 6 months, they'd had to throw it in the bin. And so they decided to involved themselves in this KTP in order to try and actually take advantage of the expertise at Durham to try and solve this problem. So what we've been doing over the past year is to try and figure out exactly how we take their software and the methods we can use to try and solve some of the problems that they come across in the past. Now, in terms of discovery, that's been fairly simple. Far and away, the biggest problem for us has been to do with things like data dependency. Because the problem you get with some industrial code is the quite organic growth you can get sometimes in terms of them plugging stuff together as they decide they want more features. And particularly with the data structure we got here, it was very, very difficult to follow in terms of figuring out where data dependencies were and how to resolve them. Now, from the we found that was a particular problem in terms of the tools that were available. We found that tools that we thought were going to help speed up the process quite a bit actually proved very ineffective in giving us any real information. And that meant we had to go and do it by hand. And we find that actually significantly increases the development time of that. But, you know, on the whole, we also found a number of techniques that could help resolve these kind of issues. For instance, serialization of various different parts of the code in certain systematic ways can help to identify a lot of the problems. And in terms of where that puts us now, Icona do finally have their solution in terms of, I think early results suggest it's about 10 times faster on a 16-core machine. And they've also got future work planned already for moving certain things onto GPUs and a pay-per-use HPC solution in the pipe work as well. But more importantly, they actually have the information and the skills now to do that themselves. And they have a realization of the importance of embedding this thinking of performance and of profiling and of optimization in their normal development work, which wasn't the case beforehand, which is kind of what got them into the position at the moment. Durham have a much better idea and a clear insight through this case study of the kind of problems that software companies go through. And I myself, obviously have a very good understanding of these processes and how they apply. Please, if you want to hear any more, please come speak to me, see my poster. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. What I wanted to say earlier on was that what you're seeing here is people actually doing this stuff, trying to use the tools, trying to do the stuff in software that we've been hearing about all morning with what's currently out there. I think that's really important. So on to Simon.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Simon Krieger, and my project has been with Crescit Biomolecular Discovery in collaboration with the University of Bristol. During my project, I've been mostly working with the CSO of the company, Mark Mackey, and with my university associate, Simon McIntosh-Smith, which you will hear from later on today. So just a quick introduction about Crescit. Crescit is a software company that mainly does software for the pharmaceutical industry. My project has basically been on porting one of Crescit's software to OpenCL. This software is called Blaze. And what Blaze does basically is compare a molecule to a large database of other molecules. So the way to do this is to use a molecular comparison algorithm, and you can use traditional two-dimensional molecular comparison algorithms, which will give you scientifically inaccurate results, but will run very fast. However, at Crescit, we use three-dimensional comparison algorithms, which require a lot more computation. These three-dimensional algorithms basically look at the biological activity of molecules as a key descriptor. So the challenges of my project have been really to port the code from Fortran 77, which is a language in which Blaze is written in, to OpenCL. And then there have been a lot of challenges in terms of optimizing the OpenCL code, as well as unstable drivers and unstable OpenCL compilers. But finally, I got it all working, and it's now running really fast. So if you come and see my poster, I will give you an insight as to which algorithms I had to port to OpenCL and the speeds up I got. The real advantage of OpenCL has been for Crescit to be able to reach into new areas of science, as well as reach all of our customers, because OpenCL really gives us the opportunity to have a flexible application, a platform-independent application, and we didn't want to be stuck with a particular vendor. We also have had good advantages in terms of the space requirements of our hardware. With OpenCL, we can now replace a 100-node cluster with quad-core CPUs with one box with 4 GPUs in it. So it has been a real advantage for Crescit. So finally, thank you for listening, and please come and have a look at my poster. I'll give you some benchmarks about what I've been doing.
Okay, thank you very much. While Tom's coming up to talk to you, I just want to also introduce Phil Williams from the ESP-KTN, as Mike said earlier. It's the ESP-KTN that I got to sponsor the, it's my money that I give to Phil, and then he gives it to the event. So Phil's sponsoring the event, if Phil can just stand up. So one of the things we're doing, apart from what we've got in the strategy, is there's a move now in the TSB to use our convening power a little bit more. When you've got money in your back pocket, it tends to allow you to bring people together who otherwise wouldn't bother, and to put it simply. And so we're doing this under the guise of special interest groups more and more. And this is where we bring communities together, cross-cutting communities. And we're doing that in a number of areas. Robotics, because David May mentioned robotics as an interest earlier on, but more specifically in high-performance computing under the infrastructure banner, and energy-efficient computing as well. And Phil leads the energy-efficient computing SIG. So if you're interested in that, then again, talk to Phil during the breaks. Right, over. Thank you.
Hi to all. Actually, I'm Thanos Grivas, and I'm working under the partnership between Newcastle University and eTherapeutics PLC. A small introduction about eTherapeutics. eTherapeutics is a drug discovery company. Actually, it uses network pharmacology for the production of new drugs. They're working with the network analysis in order to actually find the most significant proteins that are contained in certain diseases. So this gives to them the ability to create more targeted drugs. So the whole project actually focuses in the high-performance graph analysis through many core architectures. Actually, CPUs cannot stand the massive data that are coming through these networks. So this was the reason that we decided to use many core architectures. The difficult thing about this is on using parallel programming is how you can switch from sequential programming to parallel programming. It's quite hard. Actually, the main difficult thing in this project, as Nathan mentioned before, is the data dependencies. As you're processing networks, actually you're representing the interactions between your data, so it's quite hard to find out how you can partition this data and map them in different cores and actually process them in parallel. Actually, the main strategies before designing our new algorithm was to keep our data inside our GPU and try to reuse them as much as possible instead of having transfers of data between GPU and CPU. And actually, this will cause a lot of time. So we come up with a new algorithm. Actually, we're using the embedded modular structure of the networks. So we divide our network in smaller subnetworks, and these subnetworks are mapped in parallel cores. So we are able to process them in parallel and have better acceleration. And something very important for parallel programming and actually processing data in parallel, the most significant thing is having a very good data structure. that will help you to access and process in parallel the data that you have a lot of threads and blocks of threads that want to get inside your data structure. I think that's all. If you need any further information, you can come at my poster and discuss further. Yeah.
And finally, over to Joseph, last but not least. And please do, as I say, if you're working on tools and tool support, and you think what you've got offers help to these guys in terms of the problems they've come up against, then do talk to them. But also, please go and give them any wisdom that you've got about the sorts of problems that they're trying to solve. Thanks.
Thanks. So I'm doing a KTP between NAG and the University of Manchester. For those of you who don't know, NAG are a numerical software company. They specialize in HPC services, and also they have the Nag Library. The Nag Library is a sort of a large numerical library of around 1,700 routines, the core of which is written in Fortran with using OpenMP for parallelism. It's also available for a wide range of different programming environments. The Nag Library itself is built on top of the LA Pack library. However, that has problems when it comes to scaling. Implementations such as MKL and ACML typically don't scale to the numbers of cores that we are coming to expect in the future. This is where the KTP comes in. There is a project in the US called Plasma, which is under Jack Dongara. This aims to replicate the functionality of LAPACK, however, using a new sort of task-based parallelism approach. So my KTP is about using Plasma in the Nag library. However, unfortunately, it's not quite a drop-in replacement. It's not a trivial task. Plasma have made plenty of breaking changes from LAPACK, including both in its interface but also in its design. Furthermore, there are wider implications for the library. These include, for example, as I mentioned, the Nag library is written entirely in Fortran with OpenMP for parallelism, whereas Plasma is C with pthreads. And we're having some there are some interoperability issues, which is all a part and parcel of the project. And of course, Plasma is an academic code. We're running into bugs and interesting things that haven't been used before. Furthermore, the final thing I'll say is, with adding Plasma, it adds plenty more parameters to the project. Like was said earlier in another talk, is that there has to be some sort of discovery stage with the project. We're finding this ourselves in that Plasma will perform differently with different parameters and different systems, so we're adding our own auto-tuning element to the project. If you'd like to know more about it or ask me any questions, I'll be around over lunch by my poster.
Thanks, Joe. And I think they've done a great job to just quickly overview for you what they're going to be talking about at their posters over lunch. Probably they're not used to standing up here like many of us. Just a final thing about the KTNs. I mentioned Phil and the ESP KTN, which focuses on electronic sensors and photonics. We have two other KTNs that run this cohort of projects, help me run the cohort of projects in this KTP. That's the ICT and the industrial maths KTNs. And if you've got things that those guys would be interested in, then we can put you in touch with the relevant knowledge transfer network. It's all about building communities to solve problems for customers and business out there. Thanks very much, Mike. Appreciate it.